Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something huge. We're going to decode the blueprint for the Global Institute for Logic and Cybernetics, or GILC for short. Now this isn't just another tech project. It's a plan to completely rewire how we, as a species, create, store, and govern knowledge. So yeah, let's dive right in.
Okay, so to really get what GLC is all about, you have to start with this one core idea. It's from one of their foundational papers, and it really sets the stage. Irreversible systems do not fear the collapse of the past. They are immune to it by design. Now, that might sound a bit abstract, but trust me, it's not just a cool-sounding phrase. It's the key to everything. The basic idea is that our current ways of handling knowledge, they're fragile, they can break. And GLC is saying, we've got the solution.
All right, so how are they going to pull this off? Here's how we'll break it down today. We'll start with their new design for knowledge, then decode their organizational blueprint. After that, we'll get into the engine, the scrolls, and the code. And finally, we'll wrap up with their seriously long-term mission.
Okay, first up, a new design for knowledge. Let's get into the why behind this whole thing. What's the core problem they think they're solving? Well, they'd say it's a total failure of our traditional systems for learning and, well, for running things.
This right here, this is the core of their entire argument. On the left, you've got what they call the old model, reversible learning. Think of it like a game of telephone or a Wikipedia page that keeps getting edited back and forth into chaos. That's pedagogical entropy for you. But on the right, you've got their solution, an irreversible architecture. Once knowledge is locked in, that's it. It's permanent. No rollbacks, no takebacks. It's like a digital version of carving something in stone.
And the fancy term for this is irreversible computation. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is there's more undo button. Once the system processes and verifies a piece of information, it's anchored for good. Why? Well, they say it's to prevent something they call recursive collapse. Basically, it stops the system from getting stuck in an endless loop of doubt and second-guessing. It's all about making sure the knowledge base stays pure and stable.
And this is where you start to see just how big their ambition is. We're not just talking about a better Dropbox here. They want to apply this irreversible model to the absolute pillars of society. We're talking education, governance, the very frameworks of logic we use, and even monetary issuance. I mean, wow. It's not a tweak, it's a complete teardown and rebuild.
All right, Section 2, Decoding the Blueprint. I mean, if you're going to try to rebuild how society handles knowledge, you better have a pretty solid org chart, right? So let's look at the what, how they've actually structured this whole thing.
So right at the top, you can see this really interesting mix of the old and the new. You've got these bodies that sound super traditional, right? A secretariat for day-to-day leadership, a grand council for the big ethical questions. But right alongside them, you have DAOs, these decentralized, crypto-native groups that handle things like security and voting. It's this hybrid approach that's so central to their whole design.
And sitting just below those main pillars, you've got these strategic boards. This is where the heavy lifting on the big picture stuff happens. Directing the science, wrestling with the ethics of it all, and handling the money side of things. It's pretty clear they're trying to think through the real-world consequences, not just the code.
Okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. This next layer is the operational bureaus. You can pretty much think of them as the different departments that keep the lights on. They're the ones actually managing the knowledge scrolls, handling digital IDs, and doing all the legal groundwork to make this a global thing.
So what do you get when you put all of that together? Well, you get this really unique hybrid legal form. It's part traditional NGO, think Geneva or New York, which gives it legitimacy, but it's also part crypto DAO, running on the blockchain, which gives it that decentralized, borderless flexibility. They're really trying to have their cake and eat it too, combining the established world with the cutting edge.
Okay, we've seen the blueprint. Now let's pop the hood and look at the engine, the scrolls, the code, and how this whole thing actually works.
All right, so how do they actually store all this irreversible knowledge? It all comes down to something they call a scroll. Now, don't think of a Word document. It's way more than that. Think of it like a digital Fort Knox. Inside is the piece of knowledge, but the container itself is wrapped in what they call scroll DNA. It's basically a cryptographic fingerprint that proves exactly who made it, when they made it, and guarantees, absolutely guarantees, that it hasn't been messed with.
And here's a crucial part. Not all knowledge is created equal in this system. Access is super stratified, broken down into these different tiers. It goes all the way from open knowledge, which is totally public, to the flame-locked archives. And that's exactly what it sounds like. This is the most sensitive, top-secret stuff, sealed with some serious crypto and only accessible by the highest-level Security Council.
It's a constant balancing act between being open and being secure. So, you've got 3 core systems that make this whole ecosystem work. The library analogy from the source material is actually perfect. Codex Station, that's the giant card catalog. It indexes and validates every single scroll. Scroll DAO, that's the library's board of governors, the community that decides which knowledge gets unlocked. And the MSS Mesh, that's like the master librarian, connecting the knowledge to real-world missions and projects.
And believe me, getting a scroll released is no simple task. They had this thing called the recursive unlock algorithm, a super strict 7-step process. A new piece of knowledge has to pass a relevance check, get submitted to the DAO, get an endorsement from the ethics board, all before it's even sealed with zero-knowledge proofs. This is a system that is built, from the ground up, for deliberation and, frankly, for being incredibly careful.
So what's actually running all this? The tech stack is a really wild mix. You see stuff any coder would know, like VS Code and GitHub. But then, it's layered with AI agents like Claude that act as code auditors, and it's all deployed on decentralized platforms like IPFS. That means the storage is basically unstoppable. It's a very, very 21st century setup, to say the least. Okay, so we've seen the complex structure. We've looked at the high-tech engine, but that brings us to the big question. What's the point of all this? Let's zoom out and look at GLIC's multi-generational mission. What's the so what here?
And the goal, well, it's not small. Their stated mission is a multi-generational transformation of human civilization. Yeah, you heard that right. So what does that jargon actually mean? Well, sovereign logic is about creating a new, independent way for us to reason. Cybernetic networks is about building these smart, self-regulating systems. And ethical legal consolidation means they want to wrap the whole planet in a single cohesive framework. It's unbelievably ambitious.
And this isn't just some sci-fi dream. They have an actual roadmap. Look at this. They're planning to get the core infrastructure fired up in 2025, with the DAOs and financial systems rolling out right after in 2026. This is happening now. It's not some far-off vision.
And if you look further out, to 2030, the goals get even bigger. We're talking a global university, cutting-edge labs, and then there's this, SAPOC 2. The source material calls it a global ethical renaissance system. We don't know exactly what that means yet, but it sounds like the final boss, right? It seems to be their ultimate endgame, a whole new operating system for human morality, built on top of the GILC architecture.
So let's just take a step back. When you piece all of this together, it's clear that GILC isn't just another project. It's a genuine attempt to build a completely new kind of global institution right from first principles. It's using logic, cybernetics, and decentralized tech to forge a knowledge system that's designed, quite literally, to last for generations.
So, we've unpacked the blueprint. We've seen how it's supposed to work. But it leaves us with this one massive, provocative question. What are the real implications of a system where knowledge is governed by an irreversible, autonomous architecture? I mean, think about it. Is that the ultimate protection for truth? Or is it a kind of logical prison we're building for ourselves? That's the question a project like this really forces all of us to think about.